Greetings, brethren. Houseworker Donkey here. And yesterday I uploaded a video talking about this commission and a bunch of other stuff. And Bob Duckington in my comment section rightfully called me out because a couple of weeks ago or something, I don't know, with one of my older videos, he had already called me out and said that I should talk more about the colors that I used for my various painting projects. And I promised that I'd do that, and I didn't do it again. So here we go. This is just a quick video to talk about some of the colors that I used. So it's a little bit difficult to say on some of them because when I experiment, I don't write everything down, which I probably should do. But with these, I started with a standard black primer and a white zenithal highlight with the airbrush. And then I airbrushed on a mixture of... I actually forgot to get this one. I airbrushed on a mixture... is that the one? Yes. Yeah, no, not that one. Okay, I airbrushed on a mixture of Vallejo Mecha Color Titan Dark Blue and Vallejo Mecha Color Dark Blue. About a 50-50 mix. Then I left them and gave them a good wash with Citadel Drakenhof Nightshade. And then I used the same colors that I used on the other blue stuff, just in lighter versions as highlights. And that was Vallejo Panzer Aces Periscopes, and then mixed in Vallejo Model Color Sky Blue to brighten it up a bit for the highlights. For all the non-demon entities, so that was what I used for the demons, the zombies, and the little demon skins. And for these, I went with a black primer, and then I dry brushed on various layers with makeup brushes. Let me actually get a makeup brush. You can buy expensive hobby branded ones, but I don't find that necessary. So I have very, very cheap makeup brushes that I bought from a drugstore, and they're really good for getting some textured dry brush. They're very soft, and they have a lot of individual hairs, which means that when you dry brush with them, you can... There we go. You can sort of do a mixture of stippling and dry brushing, where you just sort of dab at it, and you can get some really nice texture that way. And that's how I did this. And I started out with straight periscopes, and then mixed in sky blue, I think twice, and did ever less, right? So I gave it a whole dry brush stipple all over the model, and then tried to ever more concentrate in the middle of the armor plates where the blue was supposed to be. And that gives it that sort of highlight effect. And that's all I did to this. So this is just 3 layers of sort of stippling dry brushing. That's how I did that blue. The bronze is Vallejo Model Color Bronze with an Agrax Earthshade wash, and then I forgot to get that one. Sorry. Vallejo. Where is it? Hang on. There we go. And then Vallejo Model Color Old Gold as a highlight. And it's just a spot highlight. So only on really the highest points. So on the armor, you can see here on all the little points of the trim, I did a bit of old gold, just to give it a bit of a scuffed effect. And I really like doing that when you're trying to do something that's a bit more drab. I didn't want the gold to pop too much, because it would have overpowered the whole palette. So I like using this bronze and old gold as the highlight because it's just a really sort of drab golden color. That's all I did with the gold. And then we have the teal, which is Vallejo model color emerald with a wash of thinned down Coelia green shade from Citadel, which is sort of a blue-greenish wash. And then I mixed in off-white into the emerald and gave it several highlight stages. And what I always do when I highlight cloth, I don't know if you can see it, but I this sort of striping effect that you see, that's generally how I do my highlights. That's just part of my style. But I exaggerate that on cloth to make it look more clothy, to give it a bit of texture. So that's how I do that. And it's really just, imagine this is a fine point brush. And the way I do it is just, I very loose-handed, right? So put your wrists or your elbows on the table, and then this is just the motion that I do, just up and down along the lines that you want to highlight. And if you know, if the highlights are this way, then you just pull it so that you just do this sort of clawing motion with the brush. And you have to be kind of loose with it, so not do it too harshly, because otherwise you'll have really bad thick stripes, and you want them to be super fine. So, you know, it's just a thing that I got used to over the years to doing. So that it's just part of how I paint. But I can recommend it because it really adds something to cloth when you're trying to make it look really fancy. Then next we have the purple. It actually doesn't look nearly as purple on camera as it does in real life. Oh well. Probably because the base color for this is Vallejo model color Oxford Blue, which is a very, very bluish purple. It's a color I love because it's not too overpowering, the purple, so you can sort of mix it in, and it doesn't stand out too much. And then I brightened that up ever more and more with Vallejo Mecha Color Purple. Kind of a terrible way of... these two don't mix particularly well because this is a paint meant for airbrush. And it's also a little bit more glossy than this one. So this one's definitely going to need... You can see it has a lot of shine on it. So this is definitely going to need a matte varnish at the end to just calm everything down. But yeah, that's how I did that. And I washed it with Druchii Violet from Citadel after the initial layer. I'm pretty sure I didn't go straight Oxford Blue. I'm pretty sure I mixed in quite a lot of this purple, but well, sometimes when I do this stuff, I sort of mix it on the fly, and so I don't quite remember exactly how much I used. I just mixed it so it felt right, I guess, which I know that's a terrible answer, but yeah, that's just kind of how I did that with the purple. Then what else is important? Well, a lot of these other colors, like the wood and the leather and the little straps and everything, they're just various browns with a wash. I didn't really do anything with them. The straps on here, I base coated them with one of my new favorites, which is light rubber. It's sort of a brownish gray, and it makes a really, really nice base coat. And then when you wash over it with brown or with a sepia wash, and then highlight it with some kind of like thing. In this case, it's light mud that I did, and that just gives it just a really lovely sort of washed out appearance, and it doesn't overpower other colors, which is what I really like about it. Because when you go with a really bright palette on some colors, you don't want to overpower it with the sort of stuff that's just there, that's just bits on the model, like shoes or belts, or in this case the drum. I didn't want the drum to stand out too much over the pants and stuff, So yeah, that's how I do that. And I also use this for the horns. On these guys, for example, I used this as the base coat, washed it, and then went over with this again. So this is really just a two-tone horn effect. I did that because it has the ridges, so I didn't think it needed crazy highlights. Yeah, so that's that. What else? Oh yeah, I should probably talk about the skin. Truth be told, I don't remember how I did this skin, which is a shame because I actually really love it, and I think it's the best one that I did on this warband. I think the base for this might be Vallejo Panzer Ace's track primer, because I've done that before, and then washed it with Reikland Flash Shade, and then track primer and brightened it up with probably off-white again. But I'm not 100% sure on that. But that does sound like something I would do. So I'm just gonna say that that's what I did. The hair and all the other black bits is Vallejo Panzer Ace's. I didn't get it, but it's Vallejo Panzer Ace's dark rubber. It's a sort of, you know, slightly brownish dark gray, and then I just wash that with a black wash. And that gives it already that highlight effect. For hair, that's plenty, in my opinion. Unless you want to go super fancy, you don't really need highlights on hair. Because it just kind of, you know, as long as there's some texture to it, which the wash gives you, it just kind of blends together and it's fine. Alright, and then lastly, I should probably talk about the skin that I used for the Chaos Dwarves and these Middle Eastern ladies. I wanted them to have, you know, sort of a darker skin. Although she has a slightly lighter skin tone, which I achieved with just starting with not the darkest color and then having one more highlight on them. And what I did is I used my standard skin recipe, which is these three colors. I start with a light rust, that's the shadow color, then Panzer Ace's Flash Base for the medium color, and basic skin tone as the highlight. But I don't use it straight, I use about a 50-50 mix of Flash Base and basic skin tone, because this basic skin tone from Model Color is actually really, really bright. So yeah, these three colors are my standard skin tone, and then to make it a sort of more Middle Eastern-y, slightly brownish complexion, I mixed in Vallejo Model Color Beige Brown. So I did these two at about a 50-50 mix, then I did these two at about a 50-50 mix, and then I added some basic skin tone at the end for the highlights. And then a bit more for final highlights on her. And she also didn't get a full base color of this. She got about a 50-50 of this and this, right? So 50-50 mix of Flash Base and Beige Brown, 50-50 mix of light rust and beige brown, and a 50-50 mix of those two together is her base color. So yeah, and that gets you that really nice sort of Middle Eastern-y, you know, not too brown color. You know, I don't know what you would call it. It's sort of, you know, sort of an Arabian skin tone, like you know, what you would, like what, you know, people from Saudi Arabia, for example, would look like. And I went with that, and I think it works pretty well on these dwarves. I especially like it on her. I think her skin tone came out really, really lovely, and it mixes really well with the bright teal skirt, in my opinion. So there you go. Oh yeah, and then of course, lastly, the flame effects. That was this right here, Mecha Color purple mixed with off-white all over the well, actually no, I base coated straight up purple on white. So when I zenithal primed the miniature, I made sure to spray the spell effects extra white, and then I base coated with purple, and then sort of you know, toward the end I used ever darker and darker mixes with this and Oxford blue. And then once those were done, so the whole face I basically left with just purple, same with the skulls. And then when all the sort of, you know, when the darker colors were all put in place, I highlighted with purple and off-white to, you know, just make sort of the center of the flame. Because, you know, with a flame, you always want it to be brightest where it's hottest. So there, and then where it sort of, you know, smokes off and stuff, it gets ever darker. That's how I did all of that. And the same on her, of course, with the fire on her staff. Yeah, did that the same way. So start out with purple on a white base coat, then ever darker sort of highlights, but, you know, low lights, I guess, with Oxford blue, and then sort of inner highlights of this and of white. All right. Oh yeah, and then finally, of course, this yellow. That is, I already put it back in the box. So this is Citadel Avalon Sunset with a wash of Citadel Seraphim Sepia. Then about a 50-50 mix of Avalon Sunset and Dorn Yellow, also from Citadel. And then straight up Dorn Yellow for the final highlights. And that's what gets you this really, really rich sort of honey yellow color, which I love. It's probably one of my favorite recipes, and I'm probably going to have to change it at some point because my Dorn Yellow is pretty gnarly. I'm going to need to replace that. Probably with Vallejo Ice Yellow, if I can ever get my hands on that. That's been sold out forever. Alright, I hope that's helpful to those who are interested in the colors used and everything, so you can try and steal my method and my recipes. I will admit I don't paint very sort of staged, so a lot of the time I'll mix and I'll match and I'll change things on the fly. So, you know, that's why, for example, the blues on these are slightly different than the blues I used on the rest of the figures. But yeah, I hope that helps. Feel free to leave a comment if it actually did help, and I'll definitely try to make videos like this more often in the future when I show off painted stuff. Because as you see, this is like 17 minutes long, so I don't know if I really want to put that in every video, but I'll make sort of separate videos on colors when it becomes, you know, when it's interesting, when it's something that's worth sharing. All right, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll hope to see you in the next video. Take care, guys. Bye bye.